On today's show, with the win over the Devils, the Capitals move into first place in the Metro.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about how the Capitals are in first place in the Metro. Let's hear it. Let's take a moment to truly acknowledge what that means. All around the NHL to start the season, my fellow Locked On hosts, the Capitals are not going to go anywhere this year. They're surely not going to make it to the playoffs. I think this year's team is proving a lot of people wrong. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll talk about one of those key pieces, and who might that be? Pierre-Luc Dubois, a guy that some people said is a cancer in the locker room, that he didn't fit in with the Kings. He didn't fit in with the Jets. He didn't fit into Columbus. He's fitting in very well with the Capitals. How is he getting it done? I'll talk about that. And then in the final segment, Andrew Cristall is really taken off with the Kelowna Rockets. But just to get it going here, talking about the big game with the Caps taking down the Devils. Before the game, the Devils were in first place. And what do you know? Well, at the end of the game, the Capitals sit now in first place in the Metro. Let's hear it here for the boys getting it done. Minus Alex Ovechkin. Let's underline that. Let's circle that. Let's really understand that for what it is that everyone thought that when Ovi was out 4-6, had pushed the panic button. This team is done. The Capitals are getting it done, minus Alex Ovechkin and the 15 goals that he's put up so far. But just taking a look at the standings right now as I record this on Sunday evening, the Capitals have 35 points in first, but right nipping at their heels, the Devils with 34 and the Hurricanes for 33. So the Capitals definitely cannot get complacent. They can't go, yeah, we're all that, we're just going to sit back and just everything's going to be easy street. That is not the case. The Capitals will need to kill it, as they have the San Jose Sharks on deck coming up here soon as well. But in the game, it was quite a game, and it was a back, and it was a fourth. And anytime the Capitals play the Devils this season, it has not been easy. But they've done that. They have officially claimed sole possession of first place in the Metro after a thrilling 6-5 victory over the Devils. And just in that in and of it itself, the Devils being contenders this year just goes to show you the young talent. Sheldon Keefe pushing the buttons behind the bench for that team is excelling. But the Capitals found a way to get past the Devils, a team that really has given the Capitals a tough time this season. Now, going into the game, the Caps were just 1 point behind the Devils, but with 3 games in hand, we knew we had a real shot to take the lead and did that. It always helps that when you're playing teams in the Metro, those points always mean that much more. And they did that. They did just that. This win not only catapults the Capitals to the top of the Metro, but also puts us as a pinnacle of the entire Eastern Conference. Oh, yes. This team, again, I circle back to that, a little bit of a ha-ha to a lot of people that said, yeah, the Capitals, what did they do? They got PLD, they got Mangiapane. Who are those guys? Did you see what the Tampa did this year? Did you see what Nashville did? There was that feeling that the Capitals necessarily didn't go out and acquire these big, sexy names, but those names are the ones getting it done. And it's a fierce race up there with the Devils and the Carolina Hurricanes in the mix as well. Like I talked about there, that the Capitals can definitely not rest on their laurels. they need to keep doing what they've done thus far, playing some truly great hockey. And even if you lose the lead, even if it's by a couple of goals, you're still in it. Believe it. They have it within that locker room to get it done. Right now, we've got a 4-game winning streak going. That is the longest in the NHL at this moment. The Capitals, yes, some of the best, and it feels really good. And later in the show, my mind is starting to wander about what this team is even going to be like next year, just with the additions that potentially could be on this team. But as far as this game in this season is concerned, the Capitals offense has been on fire. And with a goal differential of plus 32, the Caps right behind the Winnipeg Jets, who lead the league with a differential of plus 36. Now, you take a look at the Capitals' goal differential from last year, an about face from last year. So they're finally finding a way to get it done. And, it's a lot of things. It's the additions, it's the young guys stepping up. It's just this team operating as a cohesive unit. And Spencer Carberry and Chris Patrick, they all deserve a lot of credit in that same breath, as well as former GM Brian McClellan. And special teams. And in particular, can you believe I'm going to talk about the power play as a positive thing? It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that I was talking about that was the one thing they need to work on. The power play had a strong showing, especially considering Ovi is sidelined. We know that Connor McMichael netted his 14th goal of the season during a power play aided by a double minor drawn by Dylan Strome. So Connor McMichael, I said that we need a hero. We needed someone to make up the deficit in Alex Ovechkin's absence. Guess who that is? Connor McMichael netting his 14th goal of the season. And again, that's what makes this team really, really good this year is it's not one guy expected to score all the goals. Jacob Chikrin also made his mark, scoring shortly after and extending his point streak to 4 games. Who's loving it? I'm loving it. Capitals fans, are you feeling it? A lot of the young people say vibe check. What are your vibes about going on with the Capitals right now? Positive vibes, if you ask me. So, Ivan Miroshnichenko contributed as well by assisting on Rasmus Sandin on a power play goal. Again, the power play getting it done. Ivan Miroshnichenko, Rasmus Sandin, a blue liner with an offensive flair. There is a lot going well in the world of the Capitals. This team went 3 for 5 on the power play, marking a significant improvement over the start of the year, as this team now has scored 5 consecutive games, power play, in 8 of their last 9 overall. Can you believe it? They had to put 2 different coaches on this to rectify the situation. The power play was that rough to start the season. Turned it around. A lot to like, a lot to feel optimistic about this year's Capitals team. I haven't felt this for a long time, guys. I'm going to even say, and even in 2018, things were going well, but there were battles. This team, around the Thanksgiving marker, there are markers during the season. This team is in a really good position. Knock on fake wood here that there's no other major injuries. But the good thing about this year's team is they're built to overcome. But let's talk about that game. The Devils, talking about highlights after taking a 4-2 lead in the second. The Capitals faced a challenge as the Devils fought back. This was not going to be an easy game, and it wasn't. Stefan Nason scored on the power play, followed by Jesper Bratt tying the game. They have a lot of offensive power, and if you underestimate them for a moment, they will make you pay. However, this year's Capital pushback, Radish scored again to give the Caps a lead that they maintained until the final horn sounded. You take a look at it. This team faced a lot of struggles. They found a way to overcome. Connor McMichael, like I said, has been on fire, racking up 4 points in his last 3 games. This guy's on fire, and it's confidence. It's the big thing is confidence. And it's like I talked about last year in Anthony Mantha, that projecting success, you can project failure. You can also project success. Last year, Mantha played some of his best hockey because he was projecting success after having a rough thing. Connor McMichael is doing that. He realizes that I'm here. I'm not getting sent down to Hershey. I'm playing with some really great players on my line, and he's getting it done. continually, and he's able to maintain it. This isn't a flash in the pan. This isn't a blip on the radar. He is here to stay and a big contributor. John Carlson as well stood out with 3 assists, making him 30th on the all-time assist list for defensemen in NHL history and extending his point streak to 3 games. Good old number 74, steady Eddie on the blue line, getting it done. And a good story in all of this is that Hendrix Lapierre, a bit in the doghouse here a little bit. Hendrix Lapierre is turning his game around as he is finding some chemistry. And why is he getting it done? He's moving his legs, and that is one of his assets. Hendrix Lapierre added to his contributions with 4 assists in his last 5 games. All cylinders are firing now. All of them. Hendrix Lapierre was kind of one of those guys. What's going on with him? Does he have a home here? Should he get sent to Hershey? He's engaged as well. And your team can only go as far as the net minding, despite being outshot 14-5 in the third period. Goaltender Charlie Lindgren made 22 saves on 27 shots. Logan Thompson, Charlie Lindgren. I don't know which one is better. I kind of do. Logan Thompson's a little better, but in any event, both of those netminders are knocking it out of the park. This team is built to weather any storm thrown in its direction. It was a true team effort that led to the victory and earned the Capitals 2 important points in the standings. Right now, first place in the Metro. There is a lot to like. Again, don't take your foot off the gas. Have to keep building. I want to build points that we can build separation with the Devils and Carolina so we can really kind of push it way out there. That is my hope for the Capitals going forward here. All right, so coming up here after the break, I will talk about a player that the Capitals acquired via trade during the offseason, met with a lot of skepticism, a lot of questions. Why did they go out and acquire Pierre-Luc Dubois, a guy that many people said was a cancer in the locker room, that he doesn't play only when he wants to play. He has been nothing but a constant, steady contributor. I'll talk about him next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And listen, there is a lot of football played on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, and some of those games you're into, some of them you're not. Say it's the Commanders, the Ravens, something like that. Of course you're interested. Open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on those games. All of a sudden, they all got that much more exciting. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And that's what it is. Your favorite concerts coming to town, your favorite sports team. Get ready to look through a lot of tickets. You need an ally. You need someone that's going to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, and you have that with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holman. You can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And I want to thank all of you for making this your first listen of the day. All right, in this next segment here, we're going to talk about a guy that is really showing up and really helping this team take it to the next level. Not finding the back of the net on any regular basis, but he is showing up in a lot of different ways and despite the chatter that was said before he came to this team or when we found out he was traded to the Capitals, as this guy is horrible. There was a lot of laughter. What are the Capitals thinking? Even the elite guys, I'm talking Friedman, I'm talking Saravalli, they're all like, what are the Capitals thinking here? That he signed that 8-year deal with the Kings. The Capitals have him for 7 seasons. And to be honest, I had some questions. I listened to all the chatter. But what are we realizing as Capitals fans is it's all nonsense. It didn't work with the Kings. I get that. A blip on the radar, underutilized, misutilized, coaching, GM. It was a mess with the Kings. That this is turning out to be a perfect situation for Pierre-Luc Dubois, a perfect situation for the Capitals so far. I am loving his game and a standout performance from him here recently as well. Dubois has had some impressive outings this season. His performance on Saturday, however, was a highlight. Perhaps I'm going to go ahead and say his best as a Capital. I hope that that arrow keeps pointing up. I hope that trajectory keeps going up as well. So far, I am loving his game. Talking about his progress and his impact on this team. As we are at the quarter mark of the season, Dubois has really solidified his place on the top two-way centers in the league. You take a look at him. Constant contributor, for line share this season, played on the second line center and really knocking it out of the park. Again, we can, Connor McMichael owes a lot of his credit to his success to Pierre-Luc Dubois and all that he's done for him. Now, Connor McMichael can stand on his own, but definitely I think that the thing I like about PLD is he makes the players around him better. And it's fascinating to see how far he's come since joining the Caps from the Kings, with head coach Spencer Carberry showing faith in his potential. And a lot of that, too, again, he is projecting success. He wants to put last year in the rearview mirror, and I think he's done that. I think he silenced a lot of the critics that were very hard on him, that, what were the Kings thinking? 8-year deal. This guy was gone, and now he's on the Capitals in less than a year. There was some questions that surrounded it. And again, we run into that in all major sports. Sometimes a change of zip code is all that's required. But the one thing I know for sure is it's clear that Dubois has not only elevated his own game, but is also making a significant impact on the team's overall success. He's that leader. He's that big frame. I think there's a good cohesiveness, a good chemistry with Tom Wilson. The thing I like, noticeably is he can move the puck down the ice unimpeded because he is so huge that you're going to have to be a big dude to steal the puck away from him. And he's a competitor. There's, just so much to like about his game. That was real apparent in the last game as he seems to move up and down the ice. And I think that is what's helping Connor McMichael. You got that big guy that knows how to move the puck from the defensive zone to the offensive zone and feed it to him. Oftentimes, Connor McMichael is set up around the net front, and it's worked so well for the Capitals overall this year. With 13 assists in just 24 games, it's evident that he's helping his teammates shine as well. Oftentimes we want to quantify success as goals. 13 assists in 24 games, pretty good. Now, his role in the Capitals' 6-5 victory over the New Jersey Devils was nothing short of crucial. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and say probably his best game as a Capital. He's done that all along, just proving people wrong and proving to Spencer Carberry why he is deserving of a bigger role and why he's had that bigger role. That some people said, Pierre-Luc Dubois is coming to the Capitals. Maybe he's going to be a third or fourth liner. Hasn't been the case. And what's interesting is how Dubois has changed the narrative around him since arriving with the Capitals. And I think that word's getting out there that PLD is back. It's the real deal. And definitely the proof is in the pudding. Take a look at the Capitals in first place in the Metro. A lot of that credit goes to Pierre-Luc Dubois. Not exclusively. This is a team win, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is definitely helped stirring the drink. Now, instead of the perceptions of being difficult or lazy that has surrounded him, through the last, stints in the NHL, he's now known for his strong work ethic and dedication to the team. And I'm the guy that preaches it from the mountaintops. If I ever do another podcast and they ask me about Pierre-Luc Dubois, I did one here recently with some guys out from Los Angeles. They're very familiar with the Kings. They asked me my thoughts, and I was very candid. They said, not scoring a lot of goals. And I said, yeah, he's chipping in a lot of other ways. And that's something I think is lost. With his willingness to take on new roles and responsibility, Dubois is proving to be a vital asset for the Capitals this season. And, again, we need guys like this, leaders, guys with a high skill set. A far cry from last year is what I'm going to say. Pierre-Luc Dubois was a key in the game against the Devils, scoring the game winner just 8 seconds after Taylor Radish had given the Caps the lead. So being able to deliver clutch, that is something that he has been doing here as of late. Dubois, what he did is he showcased his ability to perform under pressure. High draft pick, that's what the Capitals get. That's what happens when you acquire a guy with that skill set, and also provided an asset earlier in the game. And the thing that really stands out for me is his hustle in the final moments, particularly that battle against Jack Hughes that prevented that icing call. Highlighted is what I'm going to say, circled his importance to the team's success. That he is that guy that knows what he's doing out there. Some of these young teams, some of the young talent doesn't necessarily, have the same skill set. Dubois has that pedigree. He's got that history, and it's very evident. And take a look again, flip his hockey card. With 16 points through 24 games, his two-way play has been crucial for this team and their success, and is definitely going to be a key part of their success going forward. But right now, I am absolutely loving the PLD deal. Send Darcy Kemper out there was a mismatch with the Capitals in the first place, and return they got that really solid, primarily second line center. He can play first line as well. And definitely a bit of a relief in the post Kuznetsov era, that I think that for the longest time they tried to mold him into their likeness, but it just didn't work. That I think that Pierre-Luc Dubois is the perfect guy for the Caps. All right, so coming up here after the break, oftentimes I talk about Ryan Leonard and how excited I am about him joining this team. But there's another player that could definitely be a game changer for the Capitals next season. Who is that? I'll discuss straight ahead. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineups live. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bet. That's get $50 instantly when you play $5 when you use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. So like I said, oftentimes I talk about Ryan Leonard, and wow, he is going to be joining the Capitals next season. But there's another player that is equally intriguing and has me equally excited. He was one of the last players cut in the fall before the season got underway. What player is that I'm talking about? Andrew Cristall, a guy that is definitely going to be a crucial piece for this team in what you're going to call the post-Ovechkin era. I guess he could play next year, and he could have the 1 year with Ovi, which will be great. But he is going to be one of those key pieces in the future, and is absolutely lighting it up for the Kelowna Rockets. So let's do that. Let's dive into his performance this year. Andrew Cristall of the Kelowna Rockets in the recent blowout win over the Regina Pats. Can you believe it? A 9-1 victory. And some of these games you have to search for a little bit, but watching that and watching him play, there is a lot to be excited about in the future. And Cristall in this game was nothing short of sensational, accumulating 5 points with 3 goals and 2 assists by the halfway point of the game. He's only 19 years old, had already notched his first hat trick of the WHL season. Wow. And just watching the game, I was like, this guy is next level. And the thing that's, a bit hard for me is it seems like it's talent that's a little bit squandered, a little bit wasted in the WHL. Not to say anything disparaging of the WHL, but I think that he's evolved past that. And I understand that there's a reason that he couldn't have played in Hershey because he's 19 years old and all that. But next season, the Capitals or the Hershey Bears, I guess. But I'm really hoping for the Capitals. We need to be full go on Andrew Cristall. But in this game, getting back to that game, he didn't stop there. He contributed assists on 2 more goals, marking his second 5-point outing in just 5 games. If you want to make an impression, if you want the Capitals organization to say, hey, put the spotlight on this guy, he's ready, that is definitely the case for Andrew Cristall. Now, taking a look at his season stats, those have been great as well. This brings his season total to an impressive 47 points, 18 goals, and 29 assists over just 18 games played. Again, there is a lot to like about his game. A guy that can score goals on the regular. That, again, this is going to take the Capitals to the next level. And I understand that the WHL and the NHL are not, an apples for apples comparison, but it definitely does show that he can score goals with some really great players. And we saw it with the Capitals in camp that he is really, really great. And just taking a look at his stats, Cristall is currently in second place in the WHL scoring, trailing Gavin McKenna by 8 points, despite having played 9 fewer games. That's quite impressive. You take a look at his scoring rate, to look at the back of his hockey card, 2.61 points per game is the highest in both the WHL and the entire CHL. Wow. When I said lighting on fire, that is definitely what he has done. Can he keep it going forward? Again, you want to see a bigger sample size. You don't want to just see, he got off to a great start, but it tailed off there. If he can maintain this kind of production through the entire season, there is no reason why he should not be on the big team, the Capitals, next season. And if he maintains the pace he's on through a full 68-game WHL season, he's on track for an astounding 178 points, 68 goals, and 110 assists. If that doesn't get you hyped, Capitals fans, about the future, I don't know what will. Scoring at this level, I got to say, is extremely rare. The last player to surpass 2.6 points per game was Rob Brown back in 86-87 with the Kamloops. So you take a look at it. He is, he's a bit of a 4-leaf clover. He is a bit of a unicorn, a diamond in the rough. However you want to look at it, this guy is next level. And I'm happy that he's going to be he's a part of the Capitals organization. We know that Leonard, he wants to play that one last season, this season, at Boston College. And this is going to be his last season playing with Kelowna. There is a lot to be hyped about. Let's not forget Connor Bedard, who registered 2.51 points per game in his draft year. So it's possible that, you take a look at him, that he could rise to the top in a hurry. Connor Bedard has had a bit of a mixed season this season, but all things considered, he's going to find his way. And, I put Andrew Cristall in somewhat of that same category as well. You take a look at Bedard, he's considered a generational talent, but what I'm saying, similar players to an extent expect something potentially similar. That is what we love about his game. So to wrap it up here, it's clear that Andrew Cristall's exceptional offensive skills have really captured the attention of me as a fan, as a podcaster. I saw that at camp. Again, it was a tough decision for the Capitals to say, hey, we don't want you to only play here 9 games and burn that whole thing up. We want you to develop your game in the WHL for one more season, ostensibly. That when next season comes, if you can really knock it out of the park with Kelowna and you show up to camp in the fall and you play very well, I think that he absolutely has earned a spot on this roster. Again, a lot to be excited about, something to watch for sure. Keep an eye on these players and where they're playing at. You take a look at them playing with the Kelowna Rockets. Take a peek at these guys. Take a look at Ryan Leonard. Take a peek at the guys and how things are going in Hershey with the Stingrays. That's the crock pot for the Capitals. That's the next wave. They're simmering. And guess what? My podcast studio is filled here with a pleasant aroma of these players that will be joining this team soon. Capitals are in a good position. They've drafted well. They've developed well. That I think this team that was dubbed as old is gradually getting younger and is going to be markedly even younger and better. Let's underline that as well. Better in years to come. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals and making it your first listen of the day. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey, become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.